Are you ready to accelerate the growth of your business? Welcome to the Revenue Growth Podcast. This is the place for business owners, sales leaders, and marketing professionals to get ideas and inspiration to drive exponential revenue growth. Each week, you'll get actionable insights from the world's leading marketing and sales thought leaders and practitioners. Are you ready to grow? Let's join our host, Daryl Amy, author of Revenue Growth Engine.
Welcome back to the Revenue Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Daryl Amy, trailblazer and growth architect. For my marketing friends, do you ever feel overwhelmed? Well, our guest today knows how to create a ton of marketing impact with a small amount of time. You're absolutely going to love this conversation. Probably going to want to take a lot of notes. Today's episode is brought to you by Convergo, a team helping entrepreneurial companies develop and execute revenue growth plans. If you want to accelerate your growth while building processes that allow the growth to be sustainable, you'll love meeting the team at Convergo. Just go to www.convergo.co to learn how other entrepreneurial companies are growing faster. Well, our guest today, Sarah Noel Block, is the founder of Tiny Marketing. For years, she was a marketing team of one for 5 companies at the same time. And to pull this off, she built systems that allowed her to expand bandwidth without expanding budget. Did it work? Well, check out some of these results. She's increased organic search traffic by 1,696% using SEO and content marketing strategies. She achieved an 80% email open rate with a 22% click-through rate and a 63% CTA conversion. She's also created over 1,700% increases in social media followers. Well, if you want to get results on a tiny budget, you're going to absolutely enjoy this conversation. And Sarah, welcome to the Revenue Growth Podcast. It's great to have you here. How's it going?
Thank you. It's good. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I think today's conversation is so extremely relevant because I know all of our friends, whether they're wearing the marketing hat, sitting in the marketing seat, or they're responsible for marketing in their organization, you know, a lot of it is like, how do we get all this done with with these limited resources that we have? It doesn't matter what size of company you have, you're going to have limited resources. I'm curious, you've gotten a ton done without a whole lot of time or budget. What's the key to this?
Being scrappy. No, I mean, scrappy is definitely where the system came from. I built a system when I was a one-person marketing department for those 5 companies at once. Mm-hmm. And because, for probably a year, I was sitting there like feeling sorry for myself that I didn't know how to make it work, how to create all of the marketing that they needed for across, 5 different bosses. So I created a system where I automate anything that can be automated, systemize it all. So everything has templates, and repurposing, batching is key. And it really worked.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, some of these tips and tricks are going to be so helpful to our audience. I really, really appreciate you sharing these, sharing time with us today and all of that. So let's start with content marketing. This is such a critical time right now. Content marketing is a pivotal, critical strategy for so many organizations. Yet it seems really frustrating to put enough content out there to make a dent in anything. You've got some ideas on how we can 10x content marketing without adding headcount?
Yes. I think that the reason that a lot of companies have a hard time with content marketing is because they feel like they need to create constantly and that they get that content burnout. And I get it because you're seeing all of these companies constantly posting new content. You're like, how do you do this? But a lot of times it's not creating net new content. It's taking the content that they've already had and either updating it so it's relevant today or repurposing it. So let's say you did a research report. Mm-hmm. And you got this nice in-depth research report and it sits on your website as a lead gen. There are a million ways to repurpose that. make it into multiple videos, micro videos like TikToks and Reels, audiograms, different blog posts for each section. I recently worked with Michelle Lynn, and she is all about original research, but we did this collaboration where she gave me one of her reports and I broke down how I would repurpose it. And we ended up getting 25 different pieces out of one research report.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of this is just mindset and going, you know what, maybe we've got more content than we thought we had. It's just a matter of looking at it from a new set of eyes.
Yeah. And just, making it part of your routine in your system. So if you don't have a lot of time, let's say you're willing to commit to one content piece once a month. That doesn't feel like a lot, right? That's not
Right.
overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that. Let's say you do a show like this where you're interviewing an expert. So you're having this conversation with an expert. What can you do with this video? You can take this video and you can break it up into different learning points. You can turn it into 3 different videos from your one initial interview. You can turn it into 3 different podcasts. You can create blog posts from each of those different learning points. There's all of the social media, of course, that goes along with each of those 6 pieces we've just created from that one core. And you don't have to create all of that yourself. You can hire a fractional team, which costs hardly anything when you're thinking of the grand scheme of things on content creation.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I love the idea of systems because I think a lot of times in marketing, I mean, there's a lot of us in marketing, we're very creative, right? And so we're thinking about the next idea and the next new thing. But as we talk about in Revenue Growth Engine, marketing and sales for my sales friends, it's kind of like the Wild West in a lot of organizations. But when you can put systems or processes in place, now you're able to take a look and go, okay, yes, let's still be creative, but let's also make sure we've got a system in place to leverage, take advantage of every single opportunity we can from this creative work that we're doing. And systems are really powerful. Of course, the acronym, right? Save yourself time, energy, and money on that. How would you recommend folks that are listening in today go about putting together a system for themselves to maximize the value of the content they're creating?
Yeah, I would start with a simple marketing plan. So you have this annual plan in place, and it could be one of those very simple ones, like the one-page marketing plan.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you can figure out what tactics you'll need to be able to execute the strategies within that marketing plan, and break that down into what you really need to create.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know exactly what assets you need to create, what you need to be doing each month, use a project management system and build it right in there. So it's kind of foolproof. So I use Teamwork, and everything is templated. So every task that I do on a regular basis, there's a checklist in there. The people that on my fractional team are already assigned to those. So as soon as it goes up, they're notified that they have a project coming up. And it makes it so much easier. And then, beyond templating within your project management tool, template anything that you create within Google Drive. I have templates for all of my creative briefs, for any emails that I have, social media. So all of the little, let's say, brand messaging and content messaging guides that I have, like, hey, use emojis here, use GIFs whenever you can, use these acronyms, that it's all right there in the template along with the structure that works really well for each of my clients.
Wow. So well thought out. So well thought out. Well, speaking of email, you've got some pretty impressive email open rates.
I love email.
So talk to us about email.
Yes. Okay. So email you need to do consistently, because Google will, let's say your email list, they're on Gmail or they're on Yahoo or whatever. They notice when you don't email consistently. And if you don't have a set schedule, it'll start putting you more in the spam folder or the promo folder. So people won't see you. So set
Interesting.
that consistent schedule. Let's like mine go out Tuesday mornings. And consistently, you will see that in your inbox. And the more you do that, the more Gmail will recognize it. So you'll go straight to the inbox. And you want to make sure that your subject line is as poppy as possible because that's what gets the open. Make sure that it stands out and it's kind of fun and it's on brand so that people will actually open it. And don't forget the little preview. That's an option for you because that's another thing they're going to see before they even open it. And that should have something like a little hint of what's inside. Are you sharing a podcast? Are you sharing a video? Have a little hint, but also make sure you're bringing in your own humor and personality within the preview.
I love it. I love it. What do you think some of the biggest mistakes people are making right now with email? What do you see out there that's just not working other than the inconsistency? I think it's a really interesting point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are afraid to email their list, so they leave them just sitting there in their in their email database and they go cold. And
Mm.
then it's just not relevant anymore. So being too afraid to email the people who signed up for your list in the first place is the biggest problem I see. So many people are afraid of annoying their people on their list, but
Mhm.
they wouldn't have signed up if they didn't want to hear from you. And your email list is a gold mine. These are people who have raised their hand and said, I'm interested in what you have to say. So you don't want to lose that traction. And then not having a welcome sequence right from the beginning so they understand what kind of emails that you're going to get. They have a little introduction to who you are. You give them a tour of your like digital world. It's just 3 emails at the very beginning before you start your nurture process. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that's I love that idea, and I love this 3-step email welcome sequence formula, not just dropping them right into the into the mix,
Yeah,
but
then it's like,
it's
where am
made
I? What's happening?
yeah, yeah. So what do you see? What do you recommend in
The 3-part
that welcome?
welcome.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool idea.
Yes, first email, give them a gift. Say thank you for joining. And that would be some sort of lead gen that you could add on there, an ebook or a guide.
Mhm.
In the second one, do a little intro to who you are. So they know who you are, what they should expect from your emails, how often that they'll get them, so they can, try to understand you a little bit better. And then in the third one, give them a digital tour of where they can follow you in other places, where they can find your content, and what to expect from you.
Brilliant. Really, really sweet. What as you're looking out over 2022, here we are, we're recording this, and it's almost the year's coming up on halfway over, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you're seeing out there as some of the biggest trends that you're most excited about in the digital marketing space.
Hmm. I would say, let's see, in the digital marketing space, I think that the more personalized video is pretty exciting right now. I just started working with a few different companies in that space, but I'll talk about the most recent.
Mhm.
Like Bonjoro is one, and Story Prompt is another one where you're sending truly personal emails with video in it to a direct person.
Mhm.
And there's no better way to build a real relationship and trust than video in the first place because people get to understand your personality and they get
Mm.
to see your face and how you react to things. And then when it's a personalized email to like one to one, it's even more personal and it's more intimate. And so I think that's a cool trend, that more relationship building, and it's important.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think that the more we can do to humanize things right now is really, really critical. And video, personal one-to-one, asynchronous, whatever you want to call it, video is a really, really awesome way to do that. What are some other things you're seeing out there that you're excited about?
Hmm. I would say episodic content I'm really excited about, and like serial content where it's more bingeable. You start it with a hook, you end it
Mhm.
with a cliffhanger and move people to the next video or article or whatever it is, the next content piece. I think that making your content marketing more like Netflix, the way people are consuming content, is an
Mhm.
interesting way to go about it. And I'm excited to see where this goes. This episodic content is relatively new, but I'm all about it. I'm all in.
Well, you can draw people in, and I think that the idea of once again going back and looking at what content have you created already, and how could that be put together in a way
Yeah.
that draws people through to want to binge watch your whole season.
That's true. Content that you've already created, you can edit it so it would work as a series and release it, just drop like StreamYard. We're using StreamYard right now, and you
Mhm.
can schedule it to go live at certain times. So you can take those past videos and restructure them into a series.
Brilliant. Really, really cool. It's such a fun time to be in the marketing business right now and working with so many incredible tools and platforms and strategies and tactics. How do you in it, the flip side of all that is sometimes it can be really, really overwhelming. And I
Yeah.
know, for not just our marketing friends, but for business owners and sales leaders who have marketing in their line of responsibility, you go, whoa, how am I supposed to make sense? How am I supposed to prioritize all of it?
Yes, there's so much that you can do, but I think that when you have that marketing plan in place and you have your monthly checklist of the things that you're going to produce each month, that it
Mhm,
becomes so much more manageable. You're like, okay, I need to do these things. I have my fractional team in place to be able to execute them. I know
mhm.
exactly what I need to do. And then stay the course. Do your Stay with it, check your analytics and your KPI, give it some time. And then if it's like well run, well oiled machine, then you can think about adding something else on there. But as it is, stick with your system and see how that goes first.
Well, consistency for sure, and it's hard to be consistent if you don't have a system. So, all of this goes back to that audience growth in social right now. In on your LinkedIn page, you talk about a 1,700% increase in social media followers. Wow. How'd you pull that off?
Yeah, that's pretty consistent across all of my clients. And I don't even love social media that much. It's just about consistency, just like
Mhm,
everything else. It is engaging with your people. Like if they raise their hand, they comment on your content or they're talking about something that's related to your business, talk to them. It's about being a person and having a conversation. So, a couple things that I always recommend my clients do is, actually invite people to follow your page because they might not know that it exists,
mhm.
and post your primary social media post the first time on the have the employees post it from their personal pages or the C-suite post it from their personal pages and then repurpose it onto the LinkedIn page for like your business because there's a lot people follow people and people
Right.
go to your LinkedIn profile of your business page because they're looking for your website or something. So make sure that your employees are getting first rights to the social media that you're creating and that they're notified because you could just hit a button and they're notified when you post something from your LinkedIn social media page.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I think so much effort gets put on company pages when really it's the people in the company that are the ones that have it's a
Yeah.
social network. It's not a network of companies, it's a network of people. So really, really awesome. SEO, search engine placement right now. Let's talk about that for a few minutes. What are you seeing in the world of search engine placement from an organic standpoint that's lighting things up versus things that are maybe just not working as well anymore?
Well, obviously, keyword stuffing is not going to work.
Right. I think
And
hopefully we're past that one.
yeah, we're past that one. I would say because video was getting so big, making sure to repurpose it and have like really thorough show notes pages.
Hmm.
So you have a decent amount of content to go with those videos. Long form content is always nice on search engines. Google loves long form content. I'm using a tool right now called ClearScope to track, which keywords are being used where, and then it grades on your SEO. But it is, of course, giving me a word count that you need to hit, and it's always long. So don't be afraid to put lengthy posts out there. And that would be like your core content, and then create smaller blog posts based off of the different subtopics within that. So you could interlink. And then doing things like this, PR, podcasts, tarot, help a reporter out, and like video shows, all of those are backlinks. And then bringing influencers into your content creation process, because they're more likely to link back. And link building is probably the most relevant, cue to Google that your content deserves to be at the top. So as many backlinks as you can get that are from, cool people and educational resources.
I love it. I love it. Well, as you're as we're wrapping up, first of all, fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiration and insight on this. What would you say to business owners that are out there right now? I know a lot of business owners go content marketing. I've know we're supposed to do it, but I mean, can we really see results from it? What would you say to a business owner who's kind of sitting on the fence here in 2022 around content marketing strategies?
That content marketing is marketing. It feeds everything, every aspect of marketing. So even if you are just comfortable writing social media posts, those can be turned into content. Let's say you had a social media post that had a ton of comments, tons of engagement. Use that as a little, check mark. Okay, this is content that my audience would care about. And you don't have to do anything yourself with it. You could hire somebody to write a blog post that expands on it, or you could do a video on it and, repurpose it across social media and on YouTube. There's a lot you can do. Even if you are just comfortable creating tiny little micro pieces of content, it can be expanded on.
Fantastic.
But it feeds everything. So don't ignore it.
What great advice. Sarah, how can folks learn more?
They can find me pretty much everywhere with Sarah Noel Block.
I don't doubt that.
My website and all social media is Sarah Noel Block. And then my podcast and my live stream show is called Tiny Marketing.
Fantastic. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing time with us today. This has been just fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And thank you to everybody in the Revenue Growth Podcast audience. Right now, this is the time where we've got to drive and thrive. We've got to keep pushing. We've got to keep working. And the ideas that Sarah shared with us today are super practical in terms of going back and looking at how can you create systems to leverage content that you're creating to grow your audience and grow leads and opportunities. What a fantastic conversation. Well, thank you to our friends at Convergo. If you'd like to learn more about a revenue growth plan for your business, go to www.convergo.co. Thank you to everybody who is leaving reviews and sharing the podcast. We're spreading the word for entrepreneurs that want to grow their companies so they can make an impact. And it's so exciting to be right here in the middle of all of it. We've got an exciting roster of guests coming up over the summer, so make sure to like or subscribe to the podcast. And until next time, let's get going and let's get